everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wellness Blueprints. I'm Jess Milner. I'm so glad you're here to nourish your roots with me. I am a master nutritionist, a functional bloodwork specialist, and quantum energy healer. And does this sound familiar to you for today's topic? Do these things sound familiar to you? I know I have seen these, I have heard these things, both in my practice, online, in just daily life. So, you're holistic and you like herbal remedies? So that must mean that you never see a doctor. Or, oh, well, you're holistic. You like to use all of those kinds of things. So you don't get to come and get like medicine. Like that's not for you. Uh, Here's another one. Oh, you let your kids get cotton candy or ice cream while you're at the amusement park. You're not really crunchy. Like that's not allowed. You're not. You're fake crunchy. And here's another one. This goes on to, okay. If you don't agree with me, you're against me. This is a big one that I see. When do I really see it the most is, both politically and religiously. And I am not about to sit here and talk about, politics and religion in any way, shape, or form on this podcast today. But this is something that we see a lot. And that's one of those categories where people say like, well, there's like the joke that online, like what it's like on the internet. And it goes, oh, I don't remember what fruit it is, but it's like, oh, like I really like mangoes. So basically what you're saying is that, grapefruits are blah, 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 blah. You should educate yourself because, people are like, oh, well, your favorite fruit is mango, but my favorite fruit is grapefruit. So like, obviously you're against me and you need to educate yourself on grapefruit. So please. So here's the thing. This all or nothing thinking is freaking harmful. All right. First of all, it creates shame, guilt, and fear. So right there, your lower energy centers, particularly your root and your sacral chakras, are all kinds of out of balance when these things are so rigidly ingrained in your mind. It prevents flexibility, which is like super crucial for long-term health and for joy. Okay. Because if everything has to be the certain way, this rigid way, in order for you to be happy, you ain't never going to be happy, honey. Have you ever seen like people on there, like, I see this now, like people are going on, they're like, oh my gosh, RFK Jr. is not getting all this stuff done with the food fast enough. And why doesn't he just abolish this and everything? It's like, yo, when was the last time we had anybody that gave two flying you-know-whats about anything in our food? So come on, like calm your nerves. There's probably absolutely nothing in the world that's going to make you a happy person because you just want to complain about everything because everything has to be exactly how you have it in your head. And so nothing is ever going to be exactly how you have it in your head because that's inside your head and the rest of the world is simply not inside of your head. And this goes for everyone, me too. So, this really prevents, your joy when this like rigid thinking, like you're not going to be happy if you're constantly thinking in this way. This can also keep people from really getting the types of things that they need, like medical care, for example, especially if some asshat is screaming at you and telling you that you don't deserve medical care because you didn't want this or that, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And it's feeding into this comparison and judgment culture, because there's so much of that. I mean, every which way we go. And it's kind of hard to not judge people. I mean, you have to understand that it is a mirror all of the time. But, so it's still kind of hard. I mean, we are humans, but this is damaging, when you are constantly judging or you're constantly have a fear of being judged. This is really damaging to one of your higher energy centers in your throat chakra. And it really, really, it fractures communities, because then people are just completely, we're comparing, we're judging, we're ostracizing somebody that we saw having a hard time instead of going, hey, man, can I help you? Like, you seem like you're on the struggle bus. What can I do to help? That's what a community does. They don't go, oh my God, look at her. So, it really, really fractures communities. And this is going to completely mess with your nervous system and your energy centers. Okay. Like I've been saying energy centers. So this black and white thinking, it often comes from a place of survival wiring. So, your brain is like, oh, I want these clear categories like safe and unsafe or right or wrong. Okay. But the thing is, growth and healing actually happen in the gray zones, in these places where you can tolerate nuance without panic. And it is possible to get to that place. Like, one little thing changes and you don't have to burn the whole thing down because one little thing changed. I'm kind of like thinking like, oh, like you get out one egg and you drop it on the ground. You're like, oh my goodness. So you just take the whole dozen and toss them on the ground. No, don't do that. So, for a little energy check. And I mean, you can take a little energy check in right now. We did this last week, just kind of take a moment, whatever you're doing, driving, you're cleaning your house, you're cooking dinner, whatever you're doing. Take a moment, unclench your jaw, take a deep breath, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth, get those shoulders away from your ears, take a deep breath in. But I also want you to think about, how does your body feel when you are thinking in extremes? When you are, because we all kind of get into these moments where we're kind of thinking, oh, this person must be against me because they're thinking this differently, or I can't do this because people will think that I'm not this, things like that. So, how do you feel? Like, what is your body doing? What is your nervous system trying to tell you when you were thinking in these ways? So, are your shoulders up? Is your jaw clenched? Is your blood pressure increasing? And think about that versus when you are allowing there to be flexibility in, choices and category, and like all of these things, when you're allowing yourself to be in the gray zone. Okay. So, and just be aware of, you don't have to do anything about that. Just be aware of what it is your body and nervous system is trying to tell you. Okay. So, food, wellness, they're not supposed to be rigid identities. I've always said, you don't have to name your diet. Just be a human that eats real food. Okay. So food and wellness, they're not rigid identities. They are nourishment. Okay. So, having cotton candy or ice cream at the park, maybe that's feeding your soul a little bit more than it's actually nourishing your body when you deny it or something like that. But so I want to tell you a little story about that, because I've been a holistic nutritionist for several years now. I worked clinically, and then a couple years ago we moved out west, and so we're driving out here. And we had, we had my truck, we had my husband's car that my mom was driving, and my husband was driving the moving van. So sometimes words are hard. So he was driving that. So we were not all like together on the road. It was just kind of like, okay, we're staying at this hotel tonight. We'll rendezvous there. Right. So I was driving along in my truck, and I had two of my kids, and I had the dogs. I had both of the dogs in their crates in the back. And we have three dogs now, but one of them we got while we lived here. So she's a newbie to the family. So we had the two dogs. And all right. So we had a couple days left of driving. My truck, the day before, the air conditioning died in Deadwood, South Dakota. And it had been giving us trouble before that. I got that far. So, the next day we were driving through like Billings area of Montana. It was 90 something degrees. It was July. It was freaking hot. Okay. We had the windows down. There was some traffic. We were really hoping it was going to go faster so that, we have the wind on us. I had the dogs back there, two of my kids, and, and it was getting to be about lunchtime. And it was freaking hot. All right. Like, it was, I have black leather interior. It's a white truck, but like, dude, it was hot. And, it was getting to be lunchtime. And I was like, okay, what am I going to feed these kids? Because I know everybody is overheated. Everybody's overstimulated. Everybody, and I thought about it, and I looked and I saw that there was a Dairy Queen coming, and I was like, And now, mind you, my kids had never had Dairy Queen, probably mostly because we really didn't have a bunch of them near us out in New Jersey where we lived. There weren't a bunch of those there. I remember having it when I was little. But so I was like, okay, like, let's do that, because like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, listen, and the kids were so excited, but I knew that I needed to cool down their core temperature. I knew that they did not need just like a sugary soda, that was going to, because, that would have cooled them down and have the same amount of sugar as a vanilla milkshake, which is what I got the kids for lunch. But, there's no nutrients in that. And, anything that was going to be like a burger or a chicken sandwich or fried, French fries or, chicken fingers or something like that. Like that was not like, that's not what their body needed. It was not going to cool anything down. It was just going to probably make them feel even more inflamed and yucky. So I was like, listen, guys, I'm going to get you guys each a vanilla milkshake. We found a shady spot to park. I had the dogs out, got them fresh water and everything in the shade and all. And then we went in and I was like, you're just going to get a vanilla milkshake. We're not going to go insane, but we got the vanilla ones. And, cause I was like, this is more of a lunch, so let's like not add all the Oreos in and stuff like that. But, like, yes, there was a ton of sugar. Yes, there was a ton of additives, but there was also fat in there. There was also probably some protein in there, and it cooled down their core temperature. So, Do I have to only feed my family salads and lean meats and like, and eggs and stuff, because I'm a nutritionist? No, there's room for nuance. Okay. Because I tell you this story because spiritual health is about balance, not about rules. It's not about follow, well, like I am this and I follow all of these rules rigidly. That is not alignment. That is not balance. What you need to do is find your alignment with the values and energy that you have at that moment. And at that moment, I was like, my kids need something cool, and this is going to be better for them all over than giving them, some, deep fried this, that, or the other thing. There's not a ton of options out there. And when you're literally moving a 4-bedroom house and a family of 6 and 2 dogs across the country, no, I did not pack a freaking cooler 4 days ago before I left New Jersey of lunch for today. So no, it wasn't happening. Sometimes people will do things like that. They will go to great lengths and everything because they have some sensitivities and stuff like that. That's great because that is what is in alignment with their values and energy during that moment. I had a completely different value and energy at that moment. So I want you to know that you are not less holistic or less crunchy. You're not a failure if you go and see a conventional doctor as well. If you decide that you need to have a surgery or take a pharmaceutical or do like literally anything that is somehow outside of the crunchy box, you are not less healthy if you enjoy dessert or you like pizza. Okay. That doesn't make you less healthy. And you are human, and your journey gets to have nuance. And that can be plugged into all avenues, all areas of your life. Because, like I said before, growth and healing happens in those gray zones where you can tolerate nuance without panic. Okay. So I invite you to explore your middle ground, redefine what balance is for you, because that's going to be different. And the balance that you had at one point may be different now. And just because I got my kids ice cream for lunch that one day doesn't mean that I made a habit of it. It doesn't mean that we did it again. Actually, I don't think we have ever done it again. Like they've had ice cream and milkshakes since then, but not like for lunch. It's okay to find your balance, and it's okay to understand that there's going to be nuance even in your choices from one time to another, even if it's a very similar situation, because your energy and your top values are going to change because the moment has changed and something else about you has changed. You've probably grown more. So I invite you to explore your middle ground. And if you would like my free daily energy alignment guide, I would like to invite you to download that. You're going to go to go.deeprootedwellnessid.com/daily dash energy. Okay. And that is my gift to you. Please tell your friends. I know you know somebody who needs to hear something like this because they feel like they are just under so much pressure of having to make a decision one way because they don't want this fear of judgment of people telling them that they are not fitting into this little box category anymore if they don't do that. It could be something with their diet. It can be something with their work. It could be literally anything. So share this with somebody. Please subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe and go ahead and leave me a 5-star review and tell your friends. And I am so, so glad that you are here today. I'm so glad that you came to Nourish Your Roots with me. Please share this and enjoy your free gifts. And I'll be back next week with even more goodies to share with you guys. Have a great one.